There are days that pass quietly, unnoticed, forgotten. And then there are days that split your life into before and after. Arav never planned for such a day. He didn't expect it. He didn't ask for it. It simply arrived. Like a truth he could no longer run from. For years, he lived the way most people do, waking up tired, living on autopilot, dreaming of a different life but doing nothing to create it. His notebook was filled with goals he never touched. His phone was filled with reminders he always ignored. His heart was filled with potential he never unleashed. And every night, as he closed his eyes, one thought haunted him. I could be so much more. But he never said it out loud, because admitting the truth means accepting responsibility. And responsibility is scary. One evening in 2025, as the city lights shimmered outside his window, Arav sat alone at his desk, surrounded by the silence of a life half-lived. He felt stuck, drained, disappointed with himself, not because the world was unfair, not because life was hard, but because deep inside, he knew he had settled. He wasn't living. He was surviving. And survival isn't enough for a soul built for greatness. A storm brewed inside him. A battle between who he was and who he knew he could be. His thoughts clashed. You'll never change. You've failed too many times. It's too late to start. What if you're not good enough? But then another voice rose, soft, steady, powerful. But what if you are wrong? What if he wasn't stuck? What if he wasn't broken? What if the life he wanted was not impossible, just waiting for him to become the person capable of living it? This question struck him harder than all the doubts combined, because for the first time he understood. The only thing he never tried to change was himself. That night, he opened a blank page in his notebook. He stared at it for a long time, not out of fear, but because he finally realized something. This page could be the beginning of a new life. So he wrote 6 words: I will master my life now. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, and the moment his pen stopped moving, something inside him shifted. He felt it, a quiet spark, a rising fire. A beginning, not of motivation, but of transformation. For the first time in years, Arav didn't feel like a victim of habits, distractions, mistakes, or circumstances. He felt like the author of his own story. He closed the notebook, placed his hand on the cover, and whispered, I'm done running from myself. And that night, Arav didn't fall asleep. He drifted into a new chapter, with the courage to face what he had avoided his entire life. Morning arrived quietly, too quietly. Arav opened his eyes before the sun rose. And for a moment, he questioned everything. Was last night's decision real? Was the fire he felt still there? Or would today be another day of old habits, old patterns, old excuses? His bed felt warm. His body felt heavy. His mind whispered the same familiar words: just rest a little more. You can start later. Nothing will change anyway. But then, he remembered the 6 words he wrote: I will master my life now. Those words hit him like a lightning bolt. He sat up slowly, his heartbeat steady, his breath controlled. And in that moment, he realized the first truth of mastery. Your new life begins the second you stop negotiating with your old one. He stood in front of the mirror, hair messy, eyes tired. But something about his reflection was different. He wasn't looking at the same man anymore. His face didn't show transformation, but his eyes held something new. Intent. For the first time, he woke up intentionally, not accidentally. Not by routine, not because he had to, but because he chose to. He walked to his desk, opened his notebook, and beneath last night's sentence, he wrote 3 new lines. 1. My mind is my master too. My habits are my tools. 3. My life is my responsibility. He read those lines again and again, until something inside him clicked. He finally understood what this journey demanded. Not perfection, not motivation, not inspiration, but ownership of his thoughts, ownership of his decisions, ownership of his time, ownership of his actions, and most importantly, ownership of his identity. Because if he wanted a new life, he couldn't keep being the same person. He began with the smallest action possible, not by changing everything, but by proving something to himself that he could follow through. He made his bed, he drank water, He stretched his body, he cleaned his desk, tiny actions barely noticeable, but each one whispered, I can do this. These weren't habits of a successful person yet, but they were habits of someone becoming one, and that is far more powerful. By afternoon, he felt something rise inside him, a quiet confidence, a sense of control, a spark of discipline he had never felt before. He wasn't transforming his life yet. He was transforming his mind, and the mind always changes before the world does. He realized, mastery doesn't begin with what you do. Mastery begins with what you tell yourself. And today, for the first time, his self-talk wasn't filled with doubt. It was filled with possibility. But transformation is never smooth. By evening, he felt the old version of himself pulling him back. The desire to scroll for hours, the urge to avoid discomfort, the temptation to postpone his goals. His mind whispered again, you've done enough for one day. You don't need to continue. Start again tomorrow. And for a moment he almost listened. Almost. But then he remembered the truth. Your old self doesn't disappear quietly. It fights back. And if he wanted to win, he had to fight too. So he took a deep breath and said, Number, not this time. And with those words, the second step of his transformation began. The step where he didn't just decide to change, he started defending that decision. Arav ended the day exhausted, but he did something far more important. He proved he can lead himself. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And that is the beginning of mastering your life. Every great transformation begins with a war. Not a war fought with the world, but a war fought within. And on the third day of his journey, Arav stepped into that war fully. He didn't ask for it. He didn't prepare for it. But life has a rule. The moment you decide to rise, your old self tries to pull you back. That morning felt heavier than the last two. His alarm rang, but his body stayed still. His mind felt foggy, a quiet resistance building like a wall around him. A voice whispered, Why are you trying so hard? You've changed enough. You can take a break. These weren't just thoughts. These were old patterns, deeply rooted, deeply familiar, deeply comfortable patterns that wanted him back. Because comfort loves company, and breaking comfort is a threat. Arav sat on the edge of his bed, hands pulled through his hair, breathing slowly as he realized something important. He wasn't tired, he wasn't overwhelmed, he wasn't failing. He was facing the real enemy, his old identity, the version of him that loved ease over effort, distraction over discipline, routine over growth, and that identity wasn't ready to die quietly. He stared out the window as sunlight crept into his room. The world looked peaceful, but inside him, a storm was building. Questions filled his mind. Why am I doing this? What if I fail again? What if nothing changes? What if I'm not capable? These questions were sharp, painful, paralyzing. But then, another thought cut through the noise. If I stop now, I go back to the life I promised myself I'd leave behind. That single reminder hit him harder than all the doubts combined. He stood up, slow, shaky, but determined. Arav walked to the mirror again, not to judge himself, but to confront himself. He looked into his own eyes and said, I'm not fighting for today. I'm fighting for who I will become. His voice cracked. But his conviction didn't, because deep down, he knew the truth. If you want to master your life, you must first master your thoughts. He spent the morning in silence, not escaping, but observing. He noticed something powerful. The mind doesn't attack with loud fear. It attacks with soft temptation. Skip one day. Take a break. Stay comfortable. You'll start tomorrow. That's how most people lose, not through failure, but through surrender. And Arav refused to surrender. So he created a new rule. When my mind resists, that's when I must act. And he put it to use immediately. He wanted to skip journaling, so he opened his notebook. He wanted to avoid exercising, so he stretched anyway. He wanted to scroll on his phone, so he put it in another room. Each action was small, but each one was a victory. A victory not over the world, but over himself. By afternoon, his resistance began to fade. His energy returned. His mind felt clearer. And he realized something profound. Asterisk. Asterisk discipline isn't about being strong. It's about outsmarting your weakest moments. Asterisk, asterisk, because the truth is, an unstoppable mindset isn't built when life is easy. It's built when everything inside you wants to quit, and you rise anyway. By nightfall, Arav felt something new. Pride. Not the pride of accomplishment, but the pride of alignment. With the man he wanted to be, he whispered to himself, I won today. Not because the day was perfect, but because he didn't let his old self win. And that victory, quiet, personal, internal, was how mastery truly begins.